is Satnam here from Alchemist Academy. A warm welcome to all of you. I hope all of you are doing well and you're working very hard towards getting your PT scores. Today, I will be doing a webinar on read alouds. There are three reasons why I'm doing this webinar. The first reason is this webinar is going to help all the students who are already preparing for PT. It is going to brush up your skills. Along with that, any student who's very new to PT and wants to know what is read alouds, by going through this webinar, you're going to get a very good idea on how to make sure that you get the maximum scores for your speaking as well as your reading. The second reason why I'm doing this webinar is I do get a lot of common questions from students when I'm talking about read alouds. I'm pretty sure that all of you might have the same questions in your mind. Addressing these questions is really important because not only will it clear your mind, but it will also show you the way how to get comfortable in the real exam and how to give your best output while you're attempting read alouds. Right? The third reason that I'm doing this webinar is we will be using our very own Alchemist AI to understand how does the Pearsons scoring system works, how does the Pearsons machine works, how does it analyze your speech in terms of your pronunciation, intonations, fluency, your mistakes, or how does it allocate those scores. So definitely going through this webinar is going to benefit all of you. Let's head straight to the webinar. So let's begin with a read aloud webinar, guys. Now, first thing first, welcome to this webinar again. Now, let's understand this. Now, in your speaking section, before you do your speaking section, there's a personal introduction section, all right? This section is not scored. So in your personal introduction section, I would highly recommend that, try to speak something so that it eases you before you start your actual test. Say something, don't stay quiet, give positive affirmations, or if you just want to practice your structure that you memorize for describe image or read a lecture, just say it out so that when you start the test, you're already in the flow, all right? So now let's begin with the speaking section. Now in your speaking section, you've got 5 different topics. You've got read alouds, repeat sentences, describe image, read a lecture, and answer short questions. All right, read aloud is the very first item type in the test. You've got about 6 to 7 questions over here, and the score goes into your reading and speaking, which is your communicative skills. And then there's 3 more things: oral fluency in pronunciation and content. Now out of these 3 things, oral fluency and pronunciations are your enabling skills. Now Pearson has stressed that the score does go into these things, so we have to be very careful when we are answering read alouds. Now, some of the quick facts about read alouds. Number 1, it has got about 6 to 7 questions in them. Number 2, the preparation time varies on the length of the sentence. If it's a very small sentence, you'll get about 30 to 40 seconds. 30 seconds. If it's a medium level sentence, you'll get about 35 seconds. And if it is a really long sentence, you'll get about 40 seconds. All right. Now, usually after the preparation time, you listen to a beep. That's when the recording status comes up and you need to start speaking. All right. Your answering time is exactly equivalent to your preparation time. So if you've been given 30 seconds to prepare, you will have 30 seconds to answer. If you've been given 35, you have 35 to answer. If you've been given 40 seconds to prepare, you've got 40 seconds to answer. Now, make sure that you only speak after the beep sound. In the preparation time, try to say the sentence out loud. All right. Now, this is the task format. So over here, you will have an instruction saying that in 40 seconds, you need to read the sentence out loud and clear. And this is the sentence, all right? Beginning in 40 seconds, that's where your preparation time is. Once the beep comes up, that's when you're answering. This will convert to your answering or recording status and it starts recording. This bar over here itself is made up of 40 seconds for both the things, for the preparation as well as for your answering time. There's some skills that you should be pretty good at. Now, the first skill that you need to be very careful of, number 1 is pronunciation. Very, very crucial. Number 2, oral fluency. Number 3, vocabulary. 4th is phrasing. 5th is intelligibility. I'm going to talk in detail about pronunciation, fluency, and phrasing in the upcoming slides. But before that, I'd like to talk about vocabulary and intelligibility. One of the key aspects that Pearson's test developers have laid out is when you speak. When you speak, the machine is also trying to analyze like how well you have understood what you're trying to speak. Because this is very crucial as it tries to analyze it in terms of a native speaker speech. Usually when native speakers speak, it turns out as if like we are understanding what we're speaking, right? So we need to maintain that rhythm. That's what is known as intelligibility. And vocabulary simply means that you should understand some, like some words are a little bit tricky. So you need to be good with those words as well. Before we go into that, let's look at the speaking scores secrets, all right? Remember at the beginning of this session, I told you that there are 5 sentences: read aloud, repeat sentences, describe image, read a lecture, and answer short questions. However, I've rearranged them in terms of their importance. So out of 90 marks, the most important section is repeat sentences, followed by your describe image, followed by read a lecture, followed by read aloud. So read aloud carries almost 20% of your scores into your speaking. Now this percentage might vary depending on the number of questions you have or the length of the sentence, all right? So read aloud is definitely important. Read aloud also takes your scores into reading. So certainly it is very important. In fact, if you look at it in reading, this is the highest, contributor towards the reading section. It carries almost 30% of your scores into reading, and it carries 20% of your scores into speaking. So if you want those bonus scores, you have to make sure that your read alouds are super good. They are super clear. All right. 30% means a very big percentage. If my desired score was 65 or 50, that's a big chunk of, marks that's sitting in my reading section. So I would not want to muck around with this section. I'll try my best. I'll try to get the maximum possible scores. All right, let's move ahead. Let's look at the scoring, the marking criteria, the scoring guide, a screenshot of the scoring guide. Now, first thing first, as I said, 6 to 7 questions. The score will go for both reading and speaking. Now, there are three very important components over here. Number one is content. Number two is pronunciation. And number three is oral fluency. Now, first of all, let's understand content. Pearson says that the maximum score for content depends on the length of the item prompt. Now, what is content? Content is basically the words in a sentence. So let's say there's a sentence which says that, let's read this out. Let's make this a sentence. Each replacement, omission, or insertion of a word counts as one error. So let's say this was the question in the read aloud. Instead of these words, I'm saying that today I will be watching some interesting webinars to understand how to do better. If you say this sentence, probably something would go for speaking, but nothing will go towards reading because none of the words match what was given in the question. In that case, so you do not get, if you do not get any content score, you're not going to get any reading scores. It's as simple as that, because all the words that are there in a sentence, how well do you pronounce them, how do you speak them, that tells you, or that states how much score should go towards your reading. Now, content and pronunciation are very linked. Okay, you will only get content score if your pronunciation is clear. Now, Pearson has got several levels in pronunciations. If you can have a look, 5 means native like, 4 means advanced, 3 means good, 2 means intermediate, 1 is intrusive, 0 is non-English. All right. Number one, when would I get 0 for the word? There are two instances: when I cannot pronounce a certain word, or I just said completely different language. So one very interesting fact about this is the Pearson's scoring system, or the machine that the Pearson uses, it listens to every single word that you say. And that's how it scores you with each and every word. So for instance, let's say if I was pronouncing a word, let's make it very easy. Diffusion. A native speaker would only take about, let's say, 0.3 seconds or 0.03 seconds to say this word, diffusion. All right. So if you said it like a native person, that means the way you said it, the time that you took to say the word diffusion, if it was matching the native speaker's time, you'd get 5 marks. 4, if you took a little bit more time, let's say if it went up to 0.4, like diffusion. 3, diffusion. That means you said it good, but you took a little bit more time. 2, diffusion. So you stretched the word too much. 1, intrusive. That means you said it really bad, or you couldn't pronounce it properly, like diffusion, or something is wrong. With pronunciation, there are 2 very important components, which is called stress and intonations. Now, intonations is the rise and the fall in your voice that you make or you do with the sentence based on your punctuations and your breathing as well. Coming down to the stress, you do need to stress on a certain words, otherwise you sound very unclear. You do not need to stress on every word. In a given sentence, there's only a few words that you stress on. So for example, if there is a sentence which says that I'm cooking some dinner for my friends, and if you say it as I'm cooking some dinner for my friends, that sounds a little bit unclear. Like the first thing you eke your ear out and you're like, sorry. Same sentence, I am cooking some dinner for my friends. Wrong stress. Like, I don't know, where are you stressing? Like I'm cooking, or I am, or dinner. So the stress is not placed on the right word. I'm cooking some dinner for my friends. So now it becomes a lot more clear. Okay, so this person is undertaking an activity. So when you put the stress on the right place, you get the right meaning from the words, all right? So pronunciation really, gives you your content score as well, depending on the words that the computer was able to understand. So pronunciation and content go hand in hand. Talking about oral fluency. Now, when it comes to oral fluency, again, there's different levels. Number 1 is native like, 4 is advanced, 3 is good, 2 is intermediate, 1's limited, 0 is disfluent. That means too many pauses. There are 3 no's that I always use in my class. Number 1 is no hesitations. You should not hesitate when you're speaking. So if I'm introducing, or if I'm saying a sentence, for example, the development of statistical software, if you keep doing like this, you lose your scores from fluency. There should be no repetition. So first of all, if you make a mistake, let it go away, let it slide away. So let's say if I was saying a sentence, the development of easy to use statistical software. I was supposed to say the word statistical, and I mispronounced it as statistical. And I said the development of easy to statistic. So you please don't repeat the whole thing. You just quietly continue from there, because if there's a repetition, the computer takes away some marks. Okay. So maintaining your fluency and pronunciation are very important to get the speaking scores. Now, maintaining pronunciation especially is even more important to get a good content score, which enables you to get your good reading scores. Moving ahead, let's look at what is Pearson's definition for a pronunciation. Number 1, you would be given 5 marks if you sound native like. When do we sound native like? When we are pronouncing something. Number 1 is all the vowels and consonants are produced in a manner that is easily understood by the regular speakers of the language. That means you need to put stress on vowels. You need to understand how to be very clear when you're saying vowels, okay? The speaker uses assimilation and deletions appropriate to continuous speech. So that means you need to know where you intonate. Stress is placed correctly in all the words. Very important. That's how the meaning turns out. That's how the meanings are clear when you're speaking. And the sentence level stress is fully appropriate. That means each and every sentence should be said in the same style with the same levels of stress. Number 2, let's look at oral fluency. You will be awarded 5 marks if your speech shows smooth rhythm and phrasing. Now I would like to talk about phrasing. What is phrasing? Phrasing is a very crucial aspect. So for example, if you are why do you have punctuations in a sentence? Like for example, you've got a punctuation, you've got a full stop, you've got a comma here, you've got a comma here. So what it means is when you're saying a certain sentence, you will speak it like a phrase till the time you don't see a punctuation. So let's say over here it says speech shows smooth rhythm and phrasing. So you can see there's a comma over here. So I had to take a slight pause. There are no hesitations, one phrase. Repetitions, another phrase. False starts are non-native phonological simplifications. Okay. So with oral fluency, the 3 things that I was saying, that there should not be no hesitation, no repetition. The third thing that I did not mention earlier was there should not be any fake accent. Please speak in the most natural possible way. So this is how you get the maximum marks. Now, how do we ensure that we get the highest possible marks for oral fluency? There's a very simple technique for that. So first of all, try to speak at your most natural rate. Try to finish any read aloud in about 20 to 30 seconds. It's not mandatory that exactly 20 or exactly 30. Anything between that is fine. It just should be very, very smooth. Use appropriate intonations and stress while you're speaking. That means when you're speaking, just make sure that you're stressing in the right place, you're pausing at the right place, you're grouping the words together, you're chunking them together. All of these things should be very, very clear, all right? You need to make sure that when you're speaking, all of these things are in the right place. So you're pausing at the right place, you're grouping the words together, you're chunking them together, okay? So how does this chunking works? With your punctuations. So till the time you don't see a punctuation like a comma or a full stop, you speak all those words together, okay? Be consistent in all the read alouds. All your read alouds have to be exactly consistent. You cannot say one read aloud really fast, the other one really slow, the next one super fast. So your overall scores will drop down if you make too many variations in your speech. Now, coming to the third reason, when I said like I'll be addressing some questions. So students usually ask me, so now what happens if I don't know how to pronounce a certain word? Now, this question has got two parts to it. Number one, if there is only one word in your read aloud that you don't know how to pronounce, skip the word. There is no penalty on that. There is honestly no penalty on that. And how many words can I skip in one question? The answer to that question is very simple. You can only skip a maximum of 2 words per question. You should not be skipping more than 2 words per question, because if you start skipping more than 2 words per question, you will start realizing, and it will actually reflect in your scorecard. You will start losing your marks from reading as well. So please do not skip too many words. Number two, what if I make a mistake while answering? Well, if you make a mistake while you're answering, as I said, please don't stop. Please don't repeat the whole thing. Most importantly, do not say sorry. Most of the times, when I'm with students, usually if someone makes a mistake, they're like, "Oh, sorry." So you don't have to add those words. Please make sure that you speak very smoothly. How loud should I speak in the real exam? One of the most common questions, because I'm having headphones on my ears. So how loud should I speak? To answer this question, I'll answer it in a very simple way. Suppose if I was traveling on a public transport with a bus or a train or a ferry full of people, and there's a lot of people speaking at the same time. Do you start screaming or howling on the phone if you were talking, or do you speak normally? Well, we all speak normally, right? Why? Because the microphone is extremely close to your ears, close to your mouth. I'm sorry. The microphone is extremely close to your mouth. The microphone that we used in our lab, in fact, are the real exam headphones. And what we've learned from them are that they are super sensitive. Even if there's someone sitting like just a few inches away from you and is speaking as well, it will still catch your voice very clearly. So you need not worry about screaming or getting disturbed. If you do get bothered by someone who's speaking too loud in the exam, you do not need to shout. Just concentrate. If you're still getting bothered by a situation like that, it simply means that you are not focusing at all in the test. Okay. How should I position my microphone? All right. In order to position your microphone, there are 2 places. Number one is it should be at the tip of your nose, or it should be below your lower lips and your chin. Now, as I said, remember that before you read aloud, you've got the personal introduction section, and before that also you've got a testing section where you can test your microphone. Please test your microphone several times before you begin the test. If there is any issue with the microphone, like for example, if your voice is echoing, or there's some interruptions while you were speaking, or it doesn't sound to be clear, please call the supervisor there and please ask them to check the headphones. In my experience, I had a student some time back. She had the issue with her microphone where her voice was echoing, and she didn't call the examiner. And apparently what happened is she only got 10 marks in speaking. So there was a technical issue with the microphone. So she should have actually contacted. She got good scores in other things except the speaking. So 10 is impossible, because when she did the mock test, she had got pretty good scores. So yes, when she did the test again, she got a full 85 in speaking. So definitely there was a technical glitch. Please make sure that you get your microphone checked. And talking about the position of the microphone, remember it is supposed to be either at the tip of your nose or between your lower lip and your chin. Test your voice in the testing section and speak clearly in the personal introduction. It helps you to get in the flow. Last question. What if I can't finish my answer in the given time? Well, my answer to that question would be, it's impossible that you can't speak your answer in the given time. It would only be possible if you speak extremely slow, which none of you do. I'm pretty sure 99% of people don't speak too slow. You speak very smoothly. The second reason is if you are very hesitant, like if you're doing things like that, or if you make too many mistakes while you were speaking, that's the only reason why you couldn't finish your answer in the given time. If you do not finish your answer in the given time, yes, it will have an adverse effect on your reading scores as well as your speaking scores. Okay. My next point is, what if a word which is given to you, like remember I asked this question which says that what if I can't pronounce a certain word? I can skip one word. So what if a word is repeated several times, guys, and I don't know how to pronounce a certain word? So let's say if there is just one word, I said I can skip it, right? But what happens if the word has been repeated several times? In that case, what we will be doing is we will be using the syllables in the word and try to understand the pronunciation of the word. Now, what is a syllable? In a layman's term, a syllable is a sound you make when you're pronouncing a certain word. To be more specific, a syllable is a unit of pronunciation having one vowel sound. This is very important, with or with other surrounding consonants, forming the whole or a part of the word. Now, first thing first, how many vowels are there in English? There's 5 vowels: A, E, I, O, or U. So most of the words in English, they definitely have a vowel in it. For example, let's understand how do we get syllables based on vowels. Let's look at this word water. W-A-T-E-R. In this, we've got 2 vowels, which is A and E. So water. So you can divide it. You can divide a word as per the number of syllables in the word, or number of vowels in the word. The number of vowels will help you to understand the number of syllables. If you look at this example, inferno. I-E-O. In, for, no. So let's break it down. In, for, no. Now when you break it down, try to say it slowly but together. In, for, no. Inferno, inferno, inferno. So when you keep slowly increase the pace over there, you will be able to connect the words very properly. Now there are 2 possibilities when we do this. The first possibility is you get the word absolutely correct. The second possibility is I didn't get the word absolutely correct, but I still got, let's say, good marks in pronunciation, maybe 3 or maybe 4. Now, in this case, what usually happens is I will still get marks for my content. Remember, content is extremely important for my reading scores. So if I make too many mistakes, I skip too many words, I'm actually giving away the bonus scores that I should have had for my reading as well, isn't it? Now, let's go a little bit ahead and let's understand a few more things. There are 2 rules with word stress. Rule number 1, remember that one word has got only one stress. For example, if I look at a word, let's say Mr. Brown, the name of a person, you can't stress on Mr., you can't stress on Brown, or let's just talk about the word brown. So it will just have like one stress, like brown. I cannot stress on O and N at the same time, like brown. I can't do that. It would sound very weird. Okay, it will sound mispronounced and you will end up losing scores. Try to stress only on vowels and not on consonants, because that enables or that boosts your speaking score and it helps you to be very clear when you're speaking. Okay, now there are 3 key elements to focus on for getting a good score in read alouds. The first element is content. Please make sure that you only say the words that are there in the question. Content is extremely important. Please do not make any replacements. The second element is pronunciation. Stress on keywords, stress on vowels, and be very clear when you're pronouncing any word. Number 3 is oral fluency. Speak very smoothly with rhythm and phrasing in your answers. In your preparation time that has been awarded to you, make sure that you go through the sentence. It helps you to be prepared when you're going to speak. Now, let's use our Alchemist AI and let's understand how the machine scores us with our speaking. All right, everyone. So let's get into our Alchemist AI. Now, this is our AI with the speaking section. We've got about 100 read alouds to practice from at the moment, but we will use just 3 of them as a sample. So I'm going to give you 3 samples. The first sample is about to read aloud. So in which some students, when they focus way too much on pronunciation, they think that if I speak really clear and I speak a little bit slowly, I should get really high marks. Let's see what happens if you try to do that. I'm going to pick up one of the most common read alouds that asked in the real test. And what happens if I try to go a little bit careful, if I try to go a little bit slow? Now, usually that once this preparation time is over, you will get a beep. And after the beep is where you start speaking. Now, let's have a look what happens. Let's prepare from this. Now, you see this place over here where there's a comma. So you should be stressing on this place over here. All these words up until here should be spoken like a chunk. But let's see what happens if we speak slowly. Akimbo. This must be one of the odder looking words in the language. It puzzles us in part because it doesn't seem to have any relatives. What's more, it is now virtually a fossil word. Until recently, almost invariably found in arms akimbo, a posture in which a person stands with hands on hips and elbows sharply bent outwards. one that signals impatience and hostility. Akimbo. This Alright guys, so as you saw in the first read aloud, when someone focuses extremely on pronunciation, they do get a high pronunciation scores, but they do compromise a lot on oral fluency because that's not the way we naturally speak. Now, the second instance that I'm going to show you is when students try to speak too fast and they think that, okay, if I speak really fast, I'll not only get higher marks for pronunciation, but also get really good scores in fluency. So let's have a look at this one. The same read aloud, but said a little bit too fast. Let's have a look. So I'm going to skip this because I've already done the preparation here. So let's skip. Akimbo. This must be one of the odder-looking words in the language. It puzzles us in part because it doesn't seem to have any relatives. What's more, it's now virtually a fossil word until recently almost invariably found in arms akimbo, a position in which a person stands with hands on hips and elbows sharply bent outward, one that signals impatience and hostility. Akimbo. This must be one of the odder-looking words in the language. It puzzles us in part because it doesn't seem to have any relatives. What's more, it's now virtually a fossil word until recently almost invariably found in arms akimbo, a position in which a person stands with hands on hips and elbows sharply bent outward, one that signals impatience and hostility. Now, as you saw with the previous read aloud, guys, I spoke a little bit fast, but that just did not help me enough to get a good score with my pronunciation at all, as the computer could not understand most of the words that you were saying. Now, how should we go about when you speak, or how should you speak to get the maximum score in the read aloud? I'm going to do it with the same read aloud, and I'm going to try and speak in a smoother way. So I'm going to skip it again, and I'm going to straight away start speaking. All right, let's have a look. How do I maintain my fluency and pronunciation and try to get the maximum score in both of them? Akimbo. This must be one of the odder looking words in the language. It puzzles us in part because it doesn't seem to have any relative. What's more, it is now virtually a fossil word. Until recently, almost invariably found in arms akimbo, a posture in which a person stands with hands on hips and elbows sharply bent outwards, one that signals impatience and hostility. This is the best way that you should do your read alouds in the real test. Alright guys, now as you saw, the result of those three read alouds was very different. So one of the most important things is try to speak very clearly, try to speak with good phrasing, try to speak with good intonations, and try to speak in a proper rhythm. Don't go too fast, don't go too slow, try to be very clear in what you're saying. If you look at this, let's go to the next slide. First of all, a couple of points to remember. Remember that pronunciation is extremely crucial for a good reading score, and you must be very clear with all the words. Try to maintain your fluency because that's what will help you to get a good speaking score as well. The preparation time that is provided to you, make sure that you read all the sentences out and scan for any difficult words or any unfamiliar words. In case if you get a word that you're not sure of, use the syllables to break the hard words and try to pronounce them. One of the most important thing, please don't pause for more than 3 seconds, because if you pause for more than 3 seconds, the computer will not record anymore. All right, so please make sure that you don't pause for more than 3 seconds on any question. So I hope this webinar has proven to be very beneficial and it's helped all of you. And if you need any more help, please don't hesitate to contact us. If you need any clarification, you need any help, please feel free to message us or knock us on our main page, which is Alchemist Academy on Facebook. Thank you. So I hope that this webinar was very helpful for all of you and it has given you some valuable information as well. If you would like more help, please don't hesitate to knock us on our main page on Facebook, which is under Alchemist Academy. Also, apart from this, if you're not really sure about your read alouds and you need some proper help, please feel free to come to the center and try it in our lab with the Alchemist AI. There is no catch in that. You can absolutely try it for free. All right, and we can give you a 20-minute consultation on how to improve your read alouds as well. So if you're looking for the best place to coach for PT, or if you need any professional help, Alchemist Academy is the place to be. Thank you and good luck for your tests.